April 12, 1807, the Froberg Mutiny. On April 12, 1807, the Froberg Mutiny on Malta ended with the remaining mutineers blew up the magazine of Fort Ricasoli. The mutiny had begun on April 4th when a group of Greek and Albanian soldiers in the Froberg Regiment, a foreign unit in the British Army, rose up against their officers. The mutineers were led by Caro Mitro, a Greek soldier. The mutineers quickly gained control of Fort Ricasoli, a strategically important fort on the island of Malta. They killed several officers and soldiers, and they threatened to kill more if their demands were not met. The British government sent troops to Malta to suppress the mutiny. On April 11th, the British troops attacked Fort Ricasoli. The mutineers fought back, but they were eventually defeated. On April 12th, the remaining mutineers, who were outnumbered and outgunned, decided to blow up the magazine of Fort Ricasoli. The explosion killed 10 mutineers and 10 British soldiers. The Froberg Mutiny was a major embarrassment for the British Army. It was the only mutiny of British regular troops to take place during the Napoleonic Wars. The mutiny had a number of implications. It led to the disbandment of the Froberg Regiment and an increased British military discipline in Malta. 1820. The Declaration of Alexander Eusplantius. On April 12, 1820, Alexander Eusplantius was declared leader of Flikietaria, a secret organization aiming to overthrow Ottoman rule in Greece. Eusplantius, a charismatic Greek nobleman with a military background, became a pivotal figure in Greek independence movements. The declaration marked the commencement of the Greek War of Independence, an 8-year struggle that conducted in Greek victory and the recognition of Greek independence by the great powers in 1832. Eusplantius' bold move ignited patriotic fervor among Greeks and signified the end of centuries of Ottoman rule, ushering in a new era of Greek self-determination. 1831. The Bron Suspension Bridge Collapse. On April 12, 1831, a bridge collapsed in Manchester, England, as a result of soldiers marching on it in step. The bridge, which was located over the River Irel, was designed by Samuel Brown and was one of the first suspension bridges in Europe. The bridge was carrying a company of soldiers from the 60th Rifle Corps when it collapsed. The soldiers were marching in step, which caused the bridge to vibrate at its natural frequency. This vibration eventually caused one of the bridge's chains to break, which led to the collapse of the entire bridge. The collapse of the Broughton Suspense Bridge was a major engineering disaster. It led to the deaths of 18 soldiers and injured many others. The disaster also led to a number of changes in the bridge design, including the requirement that bridges be strong enough to withstand the vibrations caused by marching troops. 1861. The Battle of Fort Sumter. On April 12, 1861, Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter, a Union fort in the harbor of Charleston, South Carolina. The attack marked the beginning of the American Civil War. The South Carolina militia had been surrounding Fort Sumter for several weeks. The fort was garrisoned by a small force of Union soldiers under the command of Major Robert Anderson. On April 11th, Confederate General P.G.T. Beauregard demanded that Anderson surrender the fort. Anderson refused, and Beauregard ordered his forces to open fire. The bombardment of Fort Sumter lasted for 34 hours. The fort was badly damaged, and Anderson and his men were forced to surrender. The surrender of Fort Sumter was a major turning point in American history. It marked the beginning of a 4-year civil war that would claim the lives of over 600,000 Americans. 1864. The Fort Pillow Massacre. On April 12, 1864, Confederate forces led by Major General Nathan Bedford Forrest attacked Fort Pillow in Tennessee, a Union fort garrisoned by approximately 600 soldiers, including 260 African Americans. After overwhelming the fort and accepting the Union surrender, the Confederates committed a massacre by firing on the defenseless soldiers, a clear violation of war rules. This atrocity shocked the North, leading to the public outcry and calls for persecution. The Fort Pillow Massacre also underscored the racial inequality within the Union forces, intensifying the fight against white supremacy during the American Civil War. 1877. The annexation of the Transval. On April 12, 1877, the UK annexed the Transval, a Boer republic in South Africa. The annexation was a major turning point in the history of the region. The Transvaal was a Boer republic that had been founded in 1852. The Boers were Dutch settlers who had migrated to South Africa in the 17th century. They were known for their independent streak and their opposition to British rule. In 1877, the British government under Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli was concerned about the growing power of the Boers. Disraeli believed that the British needed to control the Transvaal in order to protect their interest in South Africa. The British government sent Sir Theophilus Stepstone to the Transvaal to negotiate the annexation. Stepstone was met with Boer leaders and presented them with an ultimatum. The Boers were given 48 hours to accept the annexation or face military action. The Boer leaders were reluctant to accept the annexation, but they knew that they could not defeat the British army, so they agreed to the annexation and the Transvaal became a British colony. The annexation of the Transvaal was a major blow to the Boers, as it led to a period of resentment and tension between the Boers and the British. The annexation also contributed to the outbreak of the Second Boer War in 1899.